You may have noticed how some people seem to have a natural magnetism, attracting interest without even trying. The secret lies in something counterintuitive: constructive disinterest. When we demonstrate anxiety or excessive need for someone, we often end up pushing that person away. On the other hand, when we stay centered and focused on our own lives, we naturally become more attractive. In this video, I will reveal how to use disinterest intelligently to increase your attraction power, completely transforming your love life. You will discover practical techniques that can be applied immediately, based on proven psychological principles, to awaken genuine interest in those you desire. The psychology of desire reveals fascinating mechanisms that govern our human interactions. When we talk about attraction, the human brain operates in surprising ways, especially when we experience feelings of scarcity or distance. Scientific research shows that our neurological system responds intensely to unpredictability. When someone does not show immediate or constant interest, we create a mental state of curiosity and expectation. This psychological phenomenon occurs because our brains naturally seek to complete patterns and solve puzzles. The theory of scarcity, developed by social psychologists, proves that we value more that which seems difficult to attain. When a person remains slightly inaccessible, it awakens an internal mechanism of desire and competition. It is not manipulation, but understanding the subtle principles that govern human attraction. Neurologically, strategic disinterest stimulates the production of dopamine, the neurotransmitter responsible for feelings of pleasure and reward. The more unpredictable and less available a person appears, the greater the interest generated. It's like a complex psychological game where mystery becomes fuel for attraction. The human brain interprets distance not as rejection, but as an invitation to investigate. When someone maintains a healthy distance, it awakens the natural curiosity to understand what lies behind that stance. This dynamic creates an interesting tension that stimulates interest and closeness. Importantly, it should be emphasized that disinterest does not mean coldness or disrespect. It is about maintaining your individuality, demonstrating that your life does not solely depend on the approval or attention of another person. This posture conveys self-confidence and autonomy, traits that are extremely attractive in any relational context. The key lies in the balance between proximity and distance. It is not about creating insurmountable barriers, but about cultivating a sense of mystery and independence that naturally awakens the other person's interest. It is a subtle invitation for the other person to get closer without demonstrating urgency or desperation. Understanding these psychological mechanisms allows you to relate more consciously and strategically, avoiding behaviors that may drive potential partners away and developing a more mature and attractive approach in relationships. Self-confidence emerges as a fundamental element in the realm of seduction, transcending mere external artifices and representing an internal state of fullness and acceptance. When a person cultivates genuine personal security, they automatically radiate a magnetic energy that attracts attention and sparks interest without needing to make deliberate efforts to stand out. Building this confidence involves a deep process of self-awareness and self-valuation. It means understanding your qualities, accepting your vulnerabilities, and not depending on external validation to feel complete. Truly confident people do not position themselves as supplicants or needy in relationships, but as whole individuals who choose connections rather than passively accepting them. Developing this self-confidence requires consistent personal investment. Practices such as setting clear goals, celebrating individual achievements, practicing self-care, and continuously expanding your limits significantly contribute to this construction. It is essential to create a positive internal narrative, replacing self-deprecating thoughts with affirmations that reinforce your self-image. Additionally, body language plays a crucial role in expressing this confidence. Maintaining good posture, assertive eye contact, secure movements, and direct communication convey a silent message of high self-esteem. These behavioral subtleties communicate much more than words about your real inner condition. The true power of self-confidence lies in the ability to attract healthy and balanced relationships. When someone presents themselves as a whole individual, they do not seek to fill emotional voids through others. This posture naturally repels toxic dynamics and fosters connections based on mutual respect and genuine admiration. Importantly, it should be noted that self-confidence does not mean arrogance or insensitivity. It represents a harmonious combination of personal security and empathetic openness. It is the ability to show vulnerability when necessary, without losing the essence of your inner strength. The journey to develop this confidence is ongoing and requires patience. It doesn't happen overnight, but through small daily choices that reaffirm your intrinsic value. Every decision that prioritizes your well-being, every boundary set, and every moment of self-care contributes to this solid foundation of self-acceptance. The art of uncertainty represents a fascinating chapter in the universe of seduction, where small enigmas can provoke a delicious and irresistible tension between two people. Creating moments of mystery does not mean being cold or distant, but rather strategically unpredictable, awakening the other's natural curiosity. When we talk about uncertainty, we refer to a subtle dance of communication, where not everything is revealed instantly. It's like an engaging movie that does not give away all the secrets in the first few minutes, keeping the viewer completely captivated. Your interaction should awaken interest without seeming deliberately calculating. Non-verbal behavior becomes crucial in this context. Subtle variations in how you respond to messages, how long you take to return a contact, and the way you distribute your attention can create an atmosphere of mystery that is extremely attractive. It is not about playing manipulative games, but about maintaining your individuality and autonomy. Leaving space for the other person's imagination works like a seductive invitation. When we don't explain everything, we allow the other person to construct narratives and fantasies about who we are. This blank space serves as fertile ground for creativity and desire. Practical examples can illustrate this strategy. Responding with an intriguing message that sparks curiosity instead of revealing all the details immediately. Keeping some reserve about your routine without seeming inaccessible. Demonstrating that your life is interesting and dynamic, but not as transparent as an open book. The key is in balance. Uncertainty should not turn into complete distancing or indifference. The goal is to create a connection where the other person constantly feels challenged to want to know more about you without feeling ignored or rejected. Psychologically, this approach taps into the human principle of completing patterns and solving enigmas. Our brains naturally mobilize when they perceive something is partially revealed, creating a state of expectation and interest that goes beyond simple direct communication. Mastering the art of uncertainty requires self-knowledge, emotional balance, and a deep understanding of relational dynamics. It's not about creating barriers, but about maintaining your essence and provoking genuine interest through an intelligent and seductive posture. The art of maintaining equality represents a fundamental principle in the dynamics of modern relationships. Treating the other with respect and fairness means not just being kind, but establishing a connection where both feel valued and important. When we talk about maintaining parity in interactions, we are advocating for an approach where no one places themselves in a position of submission or superiority. It's like a delicate dance where each person occupies their own space without invading or demeaning the other's territory. A common trap is to turn romantic interest into a kind of ego battle, where one constantly tries to prove their worth or demonstrate superiority. This strategy fails because it reveals deep insecurity and pushes genuine connections away. Reciprocity means being attentive to signals and respecting the other's limits. It's not about doing exactly what the other person does, but about maintaining an energetic balance where both feel respected and considered. It's like a relational game of chess where each move needs to be thought out and strategic. Excessive need quickly turns into a repulsive behavior. When someone conveys a sense of desperation or emotional dependency, they automatically diminish their perceived value. People are naturally drawn to individuals who demonstrate autonomy and security. Setting clear boundaries serves as a powerful filter for healthy relationships. It means communicating your expectations clearly without drama or manipulation. A person who respects themselves will inevitably attract others who will also respect them. Honest communication emerges as an essential tool in this process. Expressing feelings without evoking guilt, sharing expectations without coming across as demanding, and showing interest without seeming desperate. These are skills that completely transform relational dynamics. There is no magic formula, but a deep understanding that healthy relationships arise from mutual respect. Each interaction should be constructed as a shared territory, where both have the freedom to be authentic, vulnerable, and genuinely connected. True seduction lies precisely in the ability to create connections where no one has to diminish their essence to please. It's about finding someone who expands your energy rather than limiting or controlling it. The strategy of conscious distancing represents a refined chapter in the art of seduction, where calculated absence can awaken latent desires and revive seemingly dormant interest. It's not about a cold or calculating withdrawal, but about a subtle technique that respects the emotional dynamics of human relationships. Imagine distancing as a breath in the universe of relationships. Just as we inhale and exhale, connections also need moments of closeness and strategic retreat. When we absent ourselves intelligently, we create an emotional void that naturally provokes curiosity and longing. The secret lies in the quality of that distancing. It cannot be a dramatic disappearance or a cowardly escape. It represents, rather, a conscious movement to reaffirm your individuality and demonstrate that your life does not revolve solely around one person. It's a subtle invitation for the other to recognize your true value. Scientifically, this strategic retreat stimulates fascinating psychological mechanisms. Our brains, accustomed to predictable patterns, mobilize in the face of the unexpected. When we interrupt constant communication, we awaken an expectation state that reframes our presence. The art lies in creating this distance without seeming disinterested or rude. It means keeping lines of communication open, but not saturated. Responding to messages with elegance, without urgency, demonstrating that you are busy building your own journey, but without completely shutting down your emotional connection. Practical examples can illustrate this approach. An occasional response that doesn't fully reveal your plans, a response time that isn't immediate, but also not overly prolonged. These are micro-strategies that communicate your autonomy without creating an atmosphere of rejection. The pause functions like a device that reignites the flame of desire. When someone perceives that you are not constantly available, their importance automatically increases. It's like a movie that leaves the viewer in suspense, creating a seductive tension that goes beyond direct communication. It is important to emphasize, distancing does not mean manipulation. It represents a mature expression of self-knowledge, where you cultivate your individuality without depending on the constant validation of the other. A posture that naturally awakens respect and genuine interest. Identifying signals of interest and apathy becomes an essential skill in the universe of modern relationships. The ability to understand someone else's true feelings can be decisive in avoiding unnecessary emotional drain and directing your energy intelligently. Recognizing genuine interest goes far beyond words. Paying close attention to body language, communication patterns, and behavioral subtleties reveals a lot about someone's emotional state. Gestures such as prolonged eye contact, physical closeness, and dedicated attention are important indicators of true involvement. There are clear indicators that differentiate real interest from mere courtesy. When someone is genuinely interested, they actively seek moments of connection, show curiosity about your life, and maintain consistent communication. Conversely, disinterest manifests through vague responses, excessive delays in replying, or a lack of initiative in arranging meetings. Frequent excuses can be a valuable red flag. When someone constantly comes up with justifications for not meeting or keeping close contact, they are likely signaling their lack of real interest. These excuses become a distancing mechanism, a polite way of showing that they do not wish to deepen the connection. Digital communication also provides important clues. The pattern of interaction on social media, response time, and the type of exchanged messages can reveal a lot about the level of commitment. One-word answers, a lack of questions about your life, or an absence of initiative in creating meetings are indicators of low emotional engagement. It is essential to develop an objective evaluation without falling into self-sabotage traps. Many people tend to create romantic narratives in their minds, interpreting weak signals as potential interest. The key is to stay emotionally balanced, without turning every interaction into a hope for a relationship. Emotional intelligence allows you to identify these signals without developing resentment. It means understanding that a lack of interest does not diminish your personal value, but simply indicates incompatibility or an inappropriate moment. This understanding avoids unnecessary emotional strain and preserves your self-esteem. Developing this behavioral reading ability doesn't happen overnight. It requires practice, careful observation, and above all, self-knowledge. The more you understand your own emotional patterns, the more skilled you become at recognizing the signs in others, creating more authentic and meaningful connections. The breadth of relational opportunities emerges as a fertile ground for personal and emotional expansion. True mastery in seduction does not reside in obsessively fixating on a single possibility, but in understanding that the realm of human connections is vast and full of potentialities. Meeting different people represents much more than a conquest strategy. It sets itself up as a process of self-discovery and horizon expansion. Each new interaction functions as a relational laboratory where you can experiment with different dynamics, learn about yourself, and refine your social skills. The diversity of encounters allows you to develop a richer understanding of compatibility, desires, and expectations. It is not about turning relationships into a competition, but rather creating an environment where you feel comfortable, exploring connections without pressure or rigid expectations. Investing in multiple relationships significantly reduces the anxiety placed on any single person. When you maintain a diverse and healthy social network, you diminish the likelihood of developing desperate or dependent behaviors in a specific interaction. Healthy competition naturally emerges in this context, not as a mechanism for destructive competition, but as an element that increases your perceived value. When you demonstrate being interesting, multifaceted, and connected with different people, it sparks natural curiosity in potential partners. This approach enhances your attractiveness because it conveys a fundamental message. You are a complete individual with your own interests and a dynamic life. You are not waiting for someone to fill a void, but rather seeking genuine and meaningful connections. Staying open to different possibilities does not mean being superficial or fickle. It represents a mature posture of understanding that relationships are organic, unpredictable, and fascinating processes. Each encounter can be an opportunity for growth, learning, and discovery. Relational intelligence lies precisely in the ability to circulate through different social circles without losing your essence. It means being available for interesting connections, but without creating rigidly established expectations. Transform each interaction into a learning experience. Observe patterns, understand dynamics, and refine your communication. When you broaden your relational horizons, you automatically become a more interesting, secure, and attractive person. Knowing how to proceed in relationships means recognizing the moments to end connections that do not nourish us emotionally. Identifying indicators that a bond is not flowing naturally requires maturity and self-care. It does not mean being cruel, but understanding that our time and energy are precious. Every relationship that does not evolve represents an opportunity for learning and personal growth. The true wisdom lies in recognizing when continuing to invest would be counterproductive, allowing yourself to end cycles with grace and respect. This posture demonstrates self-knowledge and strengthens our ability to establish genuine and healthy connections in the future.